Okay, so what is Compost Revolution? Pretty much it's taken a quite common backyard household composting and worm farming program and taken it online so we can scale it up. As you can see here, we've got someone logging on, putting in their address and their email address, and then we can track them as they move through the website, which is essentially they do a online tutorial and complete a quiz. They have to get the answers right on the quiz to make sure that they will make proper use of the compost bin or worm farm. And the resident then orders the bin online. Council approves the orders. So someone outside your area, for example, you're not going to subsidise them getting a bin. And then the bins delivered to their door. So it's really a very simple process to make it a lot easier for residents and council to help each other divert and compost.
So on the back end, we have a full logistics platform. So you saw a little bit of the front end, and has anybody seen the program? I recommend you have a look and see how it works, have a play. But on the back end, we really focus on making it really easy for councils to approve orders, to track the logistics of shipping products to residents, to manage e-commerce, and to really create a really seamless, easy-to-use system that ensures that that councils aren't spending a lot of time on the program, and we're able to scale up the numbers, and residents experience a really good sort of outcome in terms of receiving products and so forth.
And I'd just like to point out a lot of that I used to do in-house using Excel and this sort of thing, and since we've rolled out the program to other councils as well, Dave tends to ask, how do you do that? Or this council needs to do this. And I say, well, I do it this way, and he kind of automates it, and that means that I'm now doing the job 1 day a week instead of the 3 days I was originally employed to do it as well. So it's a huge time saving for me, as well as the councils that get straight on to doing it that way in the first place. The main thing though is residents are really happy. They love the program. They're composting and worm farming as we want them to. Diverting every little bit of organics goes a long way and helps. Some good feedback from residents. One of the things, I'm not going to read them all out, one of the things that I often hear from residents is a lot of appreciation. They often say they've been meaning to compost and worm farm for a long time, and this got them across the line to do it. And they also often say they're really impressed. You know, councils found a kind of win-win, simple project that gives them something and helps them do something, and that it's kind of a lot less clunky. They didn't have to fax a form and go through customer service or something like that. And they're usually very impressed by the program. One of the great things as well of everything online, and you saw the resident entering their address and email address at the beginning of going to the website, you can then track everything about them and record a lot of data, which is one of the main focuses we're talking about today.
Yeah, so we conduct an annual survey both to collect information about the residents that are taking up the program, and also to ensure that we're capturing the number of people that stay on the program, and in this case looking at how well they receive the program. So we get extremely high approval ratings, as you can see there, and we also get evidence of the appreciation for the program in the fact that we get 30% of our residents actually filling out what is a relatively long survey every year, so that's particularly good. So we know who they are, why they're composting, and lots of things like whether they're in a single unit dwelling or multi-unit dwelling. We're kind of predominantly multi-unit, although we do have a significant number of single unit dwellings. Our worm farms are pretty enough to go onto balconies, and we also do bokashi in a number of councils as well.
I'll just interject there. The councils I'm from in eastern suburbs of Sydney, one of them is the densest LGA in Australia. We have a lot of multi-unit dwellings. So these figures showing a vast majority of single unit dwellings are national. But we still get about 35% of participants are in multi-unit dwellings in apartments. So the program can meet their needs as well.
Next slide. So we skew more towards women, as is often the case with sustainability programs, thought leaders in the community. So broad age group though, 25 to 54. So it's across the significant spectrum there in terms of age. We also do have a substantial number of younger men and a mix as well, but certainly strongly skewed. Next slide. Also critically, we understand why they're engaging in the program. So we're surprised actually at how many people are concerned, as you can see on the far right there, with landfill as the key driver to them engaging in the program. Climate change coming in slightly behind concern or care for their garden. So we kind of have this information which allows us to tailor our marketing very carefully to a specific demographic. This is really important because we sit between the sort of small face-to-face programs that would really require extremely engaged people, passionate people to engage with council, and putting a bin in everybody's home and having a whole heap of them appear on curbside pickup a few months later. We're looking to find people who are self-selecting but still do it at scale. So we have to do smart marketing that's targeted to a specific demographic to achieve the numbers, but also to help people self-select. So we have two sort of variations of that sort of marketing message that we have. So we're as much a marketing agency as we are a logistics and education partner with councils these days. We've done a range of kind of experiments in our message over the years. So we've been running for a number of years now, 4 or 5 total. So we played with ambient things like trucks. We do bin stickers in the home, so we deliver this, and this effectively creates like a weekly billboard that creates that social norming. My neighbours are doing it, so maybe I should do it too, and creates those conversations in the neighbourhood. And you want to talk about the letterbox drops as well? So.
One way, and it's until recently with Facebook, this has been the most successful way of engaging residents, has been a really simple way of just a mail out. But some other councils in the program have had mixed success with this. But what happens, you really need to have a council branded envelope to the resident on it. And we also have a A4 one-pager. Council strongly encourages all residents to compost and worm farm, and then the usual little flyer. If you just put flyers out there, it's junk mail, no one looks at it. But a council envelope, about 2%. So we did 100,000 of these over the last year. There's still about another 15,000 to go, but we've got about 2,000 extra orders off that. So a 2% conversion rate, which as far as marketing goes actually is reasonably good.
Yeah, and having seen the success there, we're actually ramping that up in other councils. So what worked in the 3 councils with JP is now being rolled out to other councils for similar results. But far above and beyond the other methods, in most recent times, we've started to really fine-tune our social marketing. The program is perfect for this. It's sort of built, it's a grassroots. It's about community engagement. It gives people something they love doing, and we've produced a range of marketing materials which are highly shareable. And really, we needed to go past our initial uptake. We were plateauing a bit on uptake for a while, and it really was we'd kind of achieved that early adopter. We'd sort of saturation in many council areas, and we had to sort of go into that next stage of early majority. So we're sort of starting to tap into that broader base of people who are ready to make change if they're given encouragement from their friends to look at a program like this. So through, it's not simple to get the Facebook metrics right and to seed it in the right way, and you have to invest significant sums of money, but the return is really exceptional. So we're finding that with the right type of targeting and a number of refinement and constant focus on it, we're able to get a really good acquisition cost, which really is about getting people to go right through the process and join the program. And that allows us to scale because, hands up everybody's on Facebook here or has checked it this week. probably lower than the average around the country, but certainly high. That was almost everyone anyway. So Facebook's the place that we need to be. It's data-driven. That's what we're about, building a platform that really responds to our community. So, example is, Wyndham City Council recently, one post had 800 likes, 250 shares beyond our boosted paid shares and or promotion, and then 250 comments, which often is people linking to their, putting their friends' details in to tell their friend about the program. So it really goes quite viral, and that's the secret to success in terms of scaling in 2017 for many things, but certainly for us. But that's only part of it, because getting people to the site is one thing, but if you can't engage them and ensure that we get them from landing on that first page you saw at the start of the presentation through to actually signing up, you've spent a lot of money for nothing. So we do a lot of work on optimization on the platform. This is a customized tool which allows us to track that address lookup. We know where people are coming from. We know how far they got on the platform before they dropped off. We capture their email more often than not, and we're able to remind them to come back if they didn't quite get through, which increases our numbers as well. So we do a lot of work in that whole world of data-driven marketing and improvement in our platform. Constant refinement is really critical. You can see here we map our data. So this is the last few months' address lookups, and if we zoom in, you can see that was Eastern Seaboard dominated, as you'd expect, but we're not marketing in a number of those areas there. Yeah, if you go back, Tasmania and other areas, we're simply not marketing out to those areas, so that's social reach and other factors. Going into Melbourne, we've got very strong campaigns and council areas in Knox, Hume and Wyndham. You can see those patches there, pretty much around the sort of areas. City of Melbourne's involved, but not pushing heavily at the moment. But you can see a really wide distribution of address lookup. So with that kind of information, we can share that with councils, we can target our marketing, we can understand where the demand is, and we can really start to refine and spend the marketing budget wisely and ensure that we're getting the program out to people that want to hear about it.
Before we get into some of the more tonnage figures as to how the program's performed, I'd just like to talk about the data that's based on. Essentially, we've just done before and after bin weighs. So we weigh a resident's bin when they've ordered a compost bin or worm farm but not received it yet, and then we weigh their bin again, say like a year afterwards. We've done a bunch of these in the past. We've got another round of them going on currently. And we find that there's a 2.3 kilogram average per household per week. And so that's 2.3 kilogram reduction in home compostable organics. So we've done a weighed characterization of the bins. So, 2.3 kilograms, not so much, but essentially what the program's doing, what we use all the data to do, is to optimize engaging people. So we're trying to build up a kind of volunteer army of backyard composters and worm farmers, all making their little contribution. And because we have over 18,000 people in the program having actually received a compost bin or worm farm currently, that adds up to 30 tonnes per week, which is over 4 kilotonnes from the program so far. So it's really interesting, I think, when you scale up what's essentially usually quite a small, usual greenie suspects backyard compost program face-to-face to something bigger. And I like those programs too. I actually still do face-to-face workshops in my job. It's not something I'm against at all. I really enjoy it. But you start to get the program into actually kicking some goals for your diversion KPIs for the council and starting to get something that's not just a community education program, it's starting to get into a sort of diversion, small-scale distributed infrastructure kind of program. It's sort of placed between the two. And really important thing is it's saving council quite a lot of money. So those other figures were national, but this is just for Randwick, Waverley and Wallara where I work. So it saves us a lot of money, this program. That's why it's good to have a simple local solution like backyard composting in your waste solution mix. It's very complementary with whether you go FOGO or MBT or whatever. So yeah, the cost, if you just go back one, the cost has been ramping down. So we've been diverting at cheaper than landfill for quite a few years. Those costs have come down largely because the program doesn't take me much time anymore. I only do a day a week on it, but also because you accumulate composters in the community. You pay for them to engage in the first year, but they compost for quite a few years. So your diversion ramps up, but your cost stays stable or fall. So you get a decreased spend per tonne. And that means we've had return on investment in the first 3 to 4 years. And every year we keep running the program, we save council $100,000 net of comms, my salary, everything. So I think that's really important, getting close to the summary, just to help people see the sort of justification for using some of your capital works budget and running the program, like I was saying, not just as a sort of civic pride or kind of smaller scale environmental education program, but having it, seeing it somewhere in between a kind of infrastructure, large rollout, bin solution contracts kind of approach and environmental education. You want to be able to scale it up and access the capital works budgets to get the kind of results we're talking about.
And I guess to summarise that, part of that recipe is, as well as having that funding available so that we can put a really good offer forward. You know, we've explored offers from 25% off retail up to free, and so we know what works. 50 to 80% is a sweet spot. Free works very well, of course, as well, but we think asking people to pay something is quite smart, so they're invested. But really we need to get people engaged. That's our job through this platform that we've really started to refine and deliver on. Streamlining logistics means we can deliver 1,000 households as easily as we can deliver 100 on a weekly basis. So that's critical for scaling, obviously, and then optimising constantly through that data-driven model of refinement is really important. And then part of that is also to keep people engaged over time so that we can see those compost bins, worm farms and bokashis being used year on year. Through that, we see that the potential to scale this kind of program sort of sits at around at least 20% of an LGA to get that early majority through the program and diverting on an ongoing basis. So,
yeah, and just we're at about 10%. We've reached about 10% of the households in the eastern suburbs through this program currently. So it is actually achievable to do that.
Thanks very much. Come by stall 55 and talk to us if you'd like to join the revolution. We're just straight up, right up front.